Hey everybody, it's Christine, and today I have a special treat for you. I am guest designing for one of my favorite companies, Blvd, and I am so excited about that. And I am creating a layout with their Christmas collection, which is also being featured this holiday season in Joann's stores. So that is really fun. So let's dive in. My first project is a scrapbook layout, and I am using some pictures from our church's Advent by Candlelight, which is a annual thing that we do where we have a women's event and prepare our hearts for the upcoming Christmas season and focus on Christ. And so I had these great pictures from last year, and I'm wearing a bright red dress in them, and they're really bold, fun pictures of me with some of my friends. And so I thought, what better way to kick off my Christmas crafting than to do a layout about that? So what I have done is I have cut out a Christmas tree on my electronic cutting machine, using some of the red patterned paper from the collection, and then I backed that with vellum to help soften everything. Then I cut my pictures into circles, which is a little bit of a daring thing to do, but I knew I could print more if I needed to. And I then backed those with some white cardstock so that they would look like ornaments. And then I am going to use a lot of the circular elements from this collection to play up that ornament feature. So what you can see right now is I've got the basics lined out there. I'm using a black cardstock background because there's a lot of black in this collection, and so I really wanted to play that up. And I have strategically placed my pictures. They're all different sizes, and so I put the smallest one at the top, and then the next sized one right below that, and then the biggest one on the opposite side to provide some balance. Then smack dab in the middle, I have got that Joy to the World title. That comes from the Clear Cuts pad, which is a whole bunch of clear cut decorations to use. It's a really cool pad. Seriously, I love it. And I will link you up to it down below. I think it's going to be really useful throughout in these projects. And what I did is I just cut that Joy to the World out with a circular metal die, and then I put it onto white cardstock so that it wouldn't get too much of the background or the green wouldn't get too skewed. But it really provided a really nice focal point for the whole layout and brings all those ornament shapes together. The next thing I'm doing is using the border pages from the collection, and I have two of them, so I was able to make this work. What I did is I cut out the holly and ivy piece as well as that green one, both to bring in some of that green that the Joy to the World brings in, because otherwise it gets a little bit lost. And so I'm going to use those on both sides of my layout. So you would need to be able to have two of those patterned papers in order to make this work on both sides, as you can see. But I really like what it does to bring in some more patterns to the layout, because right now without it, it was a little bit, I don't know, it was just missing something, and I didn't want it all the way around. I tried playing with a couple things, and I needed more patterned paper in there. And so trying to figure out how to make that work without overwhelming the whole layout with patterned paper was a little tricky. And this is where that border page really came in super handy. I always love those because you just get a lot of patterns there, and it really opens up your options for creating. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is add in some additional embellishing. So right now you can see I've got the pictures, I've got that big title, and I've got a few pieces from the gift tag set. But I need a little bit more for it to fit with my style. I do have a pretty simple, bold style, but I do tend to have quite a few elements on there. I don't necessarily have layers and layers and layers, but I do like to really take my plan and run with it. And that's where I'm bringing in this patterned paper with all these circles. I'm going to punch out some of them to, again, add in some more of that ornament feel that I have going on. Now, I'm not going to go crazy here. I'm not going to do tons and tons of them. I'm actually just going to do 3. But I had to kind of cut into the paper to figure out which ones worked the best there. And so I had to cut in and pull in certain ones. And I obviously went with the religious ones because it totally worked for this layout. So since I was doing something about a church event, it was perfect to be able to use those manger scenes that you can see are white there. And they also, the size of them worked really well with my punch. That was another factor into which ones I used, is which ones worked well with the punch that I had, because some of them would bring in other stuff, like they overlapped just a little bit, and so I was trying to get like a clear cut of just the one thing. But you can see those are a really nice added feature in there. Again, patterned paper can go so far when you use it for embellishing as well, and that's the reason why it's my like #1 starting point. Look at your pattern papers and see what you can do with those, and then dive into your embellishments so you can really stretch your supplies. I am just using my Easy Runner Grand from Scrapbook Adhesives by 3L to adhere those on there. And I had popped up some of the original stuff, so these can go on nice and flat and it's not a big deal. But I did use some 3D foam squares to get those other circles up a little higher and provide dimension throughout the whole layout. Now, carrying on, I'm going to add in just a few finishing touches. You can see right now I've got a good layout. Right now what I'm trying to do is add some texture, add some little details to make it look finished. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add in some baker's twine, which is an older supply, but it is something that I have been trying to use more of because I've got a lot of it, and it's not like it's, you know, it's an older supply, but it's not outdated by any means. And it certainly is useful on almost every project, really, if you think about it. And so keeping that close at hand has allowed me to really work it into a lot of projects. All I'm going to do with that is just tie some little strings of it onto the ones that are tags. So those were tags already. They came as, you know, I think described as gift tags, so you could use them as gift tags on actual gifts, or obviously you can use them like I did. Then I added in some white mist throughout. I just did some simple splatters, and then I also added in some of these washi stickers, which are super cool. These have a very translucent feel to them, much like washi tape, of course, because they're made from the same stuff as washi. And so what I'm doing is adding those on. Now you can see it got a little bit lost there on the black background, so I'm going to put them into the vellum. And what that does is brings in another shape, but putting them on the vellum also makes them pop a little bit more than if they were on the black. And it keeps everything tight in there on my layout. This is a really fun sticker pad. I don't know if you have seen it or not, but it has washi strips as well as different shapes. So it's got a lot of really fun elements, and it's really it just provides a different look to everything. It's not quite as bold as a cardstock sticker, but it has a softer feel. And I think that's what I really needed at this point. I didn't need anything super bold that was going to overwhelm everything, but it brought in a little bit of added texture and a lot of added interest that way. Finally, I'm going to add in some gold Nuvo dots. These are just Nuvo drops, and I'm just going to add some little dots all around. This is not a real bold golden color, but a softer golden look. And again, it just adds in one more little detail, one more speck of color to make the whole thing come together. And there you have it. Clean, simple, bright, cheerful. Merry Christmas. Lots of fun with this layout. So thank you so much for joining me today. If you are new here and you enjoyed this, I would love for you to hit that subscribe button. And I will be back with more Bella Boulevard projects throughout this Christmas season, as I have lots more to share with you for guest designing. Thanks so much for joining me.